My best friend's sister is spreading a wild lie that I got her pregnant, even though I'm still a virgin. Now, everything's spiraling out of control, and people are starting to whisper. But I'm done staying silent. I won't take the blame for some other guy's mess, and I'll fight tooth and nail to clear my name. My best friend's sister is spreading rumors that she's pregnant with my baby. I'm talking about my parents, her brother, and I never even laid a hand on her. She's totally infatuated with me and is mad because I'm just not into her, so she's lying. When the baby arrives in a few months, I'll take a DNA test to prove everyone wrong. As for my parents, they've been ignoring me for the last 3 days. The only time they speak to me is when they're yelling. They're insisting I confess to something I didn't do, but I won't because it's simply not true. I can imagine some of you are wondering, what on earth? So, let me explain. I've always been a good kid. As an only child, my parents spoiled me, and I never got into trouble. I got good grades, stayed out of fights, and just kept a low profile. Even as a teenager, I never disrespected my parents, I was always polite. That's why I was shocked when they didn't believe me after this outrageous accusation. Ever since I started school, I worked hard academically. My parents made a good living and could pay for college, but they expected me to earn my keep by maintaining high grades. I took that seriously, because even with scholarships, I'd need their help with some costs. Since I spent most of my time studying, I didn't really make many friends. Luckily, I had my best friend Caleb. We met when he moved into the neighborhood around age 8, and we've been inseparable ever since. At school, we were always together, and outside, we'd hang out at each other's houses like we were family. Caleb is the kind of friend anyone would be lucky to have. He also has a younger sister, Sabrina, who's 16, 2 years younger than us. With graduation just 3 months away, I didn't see her much. She's a sweet girl, and she's never been rude to me. There were moments when I thought she might like me, but I always saw her as a little sister. Besides, I never really cared much about dating in high school. School was my priority for a future career. Sure, I had crushes here and there, but they never meant much to me. In fact, I've only been on a few dates in my life. My longest relationship lasted about a month during junior year with a girl from math class. Our flirtation fizzled out after a couple of months. Now that I think about it, I remember Sabrina acting a bit jealous during that time. Whenever I mentioned dating Kyla, she'd give me a dirty look or mutter something under her breath. But when I asked her about it, she just shrugged it off. I guess it's normal for someone to have a crush on her brother's best friend. Even if I'd seen it happen with others, it didn't change how I felt. I always thought of her as family. If she ever confessed her feelings, I'd gently turn her down. I simply didn't see her romantically, and I never really cared much about dating anyway. Then everything suddenly fell apart. I was coming home from school at my usual time since Caleb stayed late for a club meeting, and we planned to catch up tomorrow. But when I walked in, I was stunned to see not only my parents but also Caleb and Sabrina's parents, all sitting in the living room with serious expressions. I felt like something huge was about to happen. "What's going on?" I asked, though I really wanted to bolt out the door. Eventually, I had to sit down, and my parents broke the news. Sabrina had come over today and told them she was pregnant. And here's the shocker, apparently, I'm the father. This is a total lie. I've never slept with anyone, let alone Sabrina. I didn't plan on this being public, but there's no way I could have gotten her pregnant. I explained over and over that it's impossible since I've never been intimate with anyone, plus I don't feel that way about her. Even though I said it clearly, the look on their faces told me they didn't believe me. My heart sank because how could my own parents doubt me? My dad insisted I must tell the truth. He believed they already knew I got Sabrina pregnant because she wouldn't lie about something like this. I reminded him that I always suspected she had a crush on me, which might be why she made up the story, but it still isn't true. Then her parents chimed in, accusing me of taking advantage of her and getting her pregnant. According to Sabrina, when she told me she was pregnant, I decided to cut her off. They even started calling me an irresponsible father. How could I be irresponsible when it's not even my child? It's complete madness. I kept repeating that the baby isn't mine, and all they need to do is run a DNA test to confirm it. My mom yelled at me to act like a grown-up and take responsibility. Sabrina's parents shouted back that it was the least I could do after allegedly taking advantage of their daughter. Nothing I said made a difference, none of them would listen. I just kept saying that if I ever got a girl pregnant, I'd never abandon her. Having a child at my age isn't something I'd choose, but if it happened, I'd face it head-on. They kept yelling, telling me to man up and confess, but I wasn't going to admit something that never happened. Eventually, Sabrina's parents left, leaving me alone with my own. My mom screamed at me to go to my room, saying she couldn't bear to look at me and that I'd shamed her as her son. After that fight, I stayed in my room until it was late. When I was sure no one was around, I snuck downstairs for a bite to eat before retreating back to my room. That's been my life for the past 3 days. Every morning when I leave for school, I rush out of the house trying to avoid my parents, and it seems they're avoiding me too. I eat all my meals in my room, keeping to myself. It hurts to be ignored like this. I always thought parents would support their child no matter what, but mine seemed determined to turn against me. I'm at a loss and really need advice on how to handle this. Please, if you have any ideas, leave a comment. I just want to talk to my parents and prove that I'm telling the truth. Update, my parents have now told me that I have to leave the house unless I admit to what I supposedly did with Sabrina. I can't share too much, but basically they said they won't let me stay at home with a liar. I reminded them that they didn't raise a liar, and that's all I have to say on the matter. I'm not lying, I begged them not to kick me out because I was telling the truth. I even asked for a chance to prove it, but they wouldn't budge. They told me to pack up and leave until I was ready to admit the truth and act like a man. So, I packed my things and called my aunt, who lives just a 15-minute drive away. She was shocked to hear what happened and couldn't believe my parents did that. Thankfully, she picked me up right away and said I could stay with her. After I settled in, she called my parents and absolutely tore into them. She criticized them harshly, insisting they should believe me. If they weren't sure, she suggested waiting until the baby was born for a DNA test. In the meantime, she told them they should support me. I can't believe my parents kicked me out. I knew they were angry, but I thought they'd come around since I've never given them a reason not to trust me. It's crazy they'd side with Sabrina over their own son. I'm set to graduate in less than 3 months and now I'm nearly homeless. Even though it doesn't feel too bad since I'm staying with my aunt, she's been amazing and said I can stay as long as I need. She still wants to reason with my parents, but honestly, I don't think it'll change their minds. Why would they believe her when they won't believe me? For now, I'm just focused on finishing school. College is still on the horizon, but at this rate, I doubt my parents will help pay for it. I'll figure it out. Right now, I don't really need advice, but if you want to send good vibes or leave a comment, it'd mean a lot. I'm just trying to keep my head down, finish school, and move on. Thanks for all your support. Update 2. While at school, I was attacked by some of Sabrina's friends. My parents kicked me out 3 weeks ago, and I've been staying with my aunt, just trying to get through each day. It's not easy. I miss my old room and my parents. They were always decent, and I don't understand why they changed so suddenly. When I asked, my aunt said she had no idea, but she promised everything would be okay. She offered to help with college expenses, but I told her not to waste her money on me. School has gotten even more complicated. Sabrina is still spreading rumors that I got her pregnant, which I keep denying, and people are split on the issue. Caleb is ignoring me. All he said was he's torn between us, but he has to stay away because his parents would disown him. I can't believe my best friend is doing this to me, but I guess loyalty to family runs deep, something my parents seem to have forgotten when they threw me under the bus. Things got even worse at school. The other day, as I was about to leave for my aunt's place, 3 of Sabrina's friends attacked me, 2 guys and a girl. I'm not weak, but I was caught off guard, and 3 against 1 isn't fair. Now I'm covered in bruises and sporting a black eye. At my aunt's insistence, I reported it to the principal. When she saw me at home, she said she'd make sure those kids got in trouble, but honestly, I just wanted to forget it happened. The principal suggested that my presence might be making things worse because of all the rumors about Sabrina, so he recommended I finish school online. I was so fed up, so I agreed to do online classes. It seems like the best option right now. I still haven't heard from my parents. My aunt has tried reaching out to them, but I told her to stop. It's a waste of time. Until the baby is born and a DNA test is done, they won't believe me. I'm not sure how I'll feel about them by then. I doubt I'll ever forgive them. If they had reached out and apologized earlier, maybe I could have forgiven them, but now that ship has sailed. Update 3. It's been 6 months since my last update. I'm sorry for the delay, but I've been busy. First, I was finishing school and graduating after switching to online classes. Then, I started applying to colleges to see which ones would accept me. I got into a local 4-year university and even received a partial scholarship. I'll be living at home and working part-time to cover some expenses. I'm starting the semester a bit late since I'm saving every penny. I don't want my aunt to have to pay for me. She's already done so much. Now, for some big news, the baby Sabrina claimed was mine has finally been born, and it turns out the baby is Asian, not white like me. I can't even begin to describe the mix of emotions I felt: relief, vindication, frustration, everything at once. My aunt and I even shared a laugh afterward, though the whole situation is just absurd. My parents finally reached out after the baby was born, apologizing, but honestly, it felt too little, too late. I've been angry for so long, and even though it feels good to be vindicated, the hurt remains. It'll take time to process everything. Meanwhile, Sabrina and her parents have been quiet, and Caleb still hasn't contacted me. I doubt we'll ever be friends again. For now, I'm focused on moving forward. College is starting, I have a job, and I'm building my future. I've learned a lot through this ordeal, especially about standing up for myself and trusting my instincts, even when others doubt me. Thanks so much for all your support during this crazy journey. I'll keep you updated if anything major happens, but for now, I'm ready for the next chapter. Update 4. Now that my education is going well, I have some big news. Sabrina went into labor a few days ago, and as you know, the baby was born Asian. There's absolutely no way I could be the father. I'm white, and so are my parents. Clearly, whoever was with Sabrina is Asian, and that's that. Since the baby's birth, my parents have been trying to apologize. I've been ignoring them, but eventually, they showed up at my aunt's house, practically begging to talk to me. My aunt kicked them out immediately, saying they had some nerve showing up after everything that happened. I appreciated her protecting me because I wasn't ready to face them yet. Eventually, I agreed to meet them in a park, a neutral place where I wouldn't feel pressured. When we met, they started apologizing right away, saying they were sorry for everything and wanted me to come back home. Then they handed me a check to help pay for the rest of my education. I asked if I had to move back home to cash the check, and they said no, they just wanted me to visit more often and keep in touch. I took the check, but it's just sitting in my drawer. They keep asking if I've cashed it, and I keep saying no because my tuition is already covered this semester. I'm stuck on what to do. I'm not ready to forgive them for what they did, but I also know that if I refuse to maintain any relationship, they might cancel the check. Part of me thinks they're only doing this to get something from me, not because they truly want to make things right. If you have any suggestions, please leave a comment. I'm really lost right now. I don't trust them, and I don't want to give them another chance. It feels like they're just trying to make up for their mistake because it's convenient for them. Any advice would be helpful. Thanks again for sticking with me and for all your support. Update 5. My parents want me to move back home, but I took their check as a peace offering and then cut off all contact. They invited me to dinner, and I agreed to go. However, before that happened, my aunt told me she'd heard from a family member that my dad had been diagnosed with a serious illness. Eventually, he'll have to stay home and need help. My aunt also heard that my parents were planning to ask me to move back home, and if I refused, they would cancel the check they gave me. I deposited the check a few days before dinner. It cleared without any issues and was clearly marked as a gift, so I wasn't worried about legal repercussions. My parents wouldn't even know I'd cashed it until I arrived at dinner, and by that time, it was too late for them to demand the money back. At dinner, everything started off fine until my parents brought up my dad's illness and asked if I would move back home to help out. I reminded them that at the park, they promised not to force me to move if I didn't want to. Then they mentioned the check. If I didn't move back, I'd have to return the money. I laughed and told them that the check was already cashed and the funds were in my account. My mom burst into tears and even threatened to report me for fraud, but I calmly reminded her that the check was issued as a gift. I even had our text messages to prove that the money was a gift. They then tried to guilt me by saying it was cruel to abandon family during a crisis, but I reminded them that they did the exact same thing when they refused to believe I wasn't the father of Sabrina's baby. They kicked me out and wouldn't listen. I had no sympathy left for them. The last thing I said before leaving was that I wanted nothing to do with them anymore. I told them I was cutting off contact with my parents. I know it hurts that my dad is sick, but it's clear they only want me back because something bad happened and they need someone to care for him. Well, I'm not that person. I left without giving in to their manipulations. Once I got to my aunt's place, I explained everything, and she agreed that my parents' emotional manipulation had gone too far. Now, I've officially severed all contact with them and will focus solely on my studies and job. If they had trusted me from the beginning, none of this would have happened, but it's too late for regrets. I'm back with an update because I've made some decisions after everything that's happened. I've decided to sue Sabrina. Honestly, it wasn't something I planned initially. After school, all I wanted was to move on and leave that painful chapter behind, focusing on my studies. But circumstances changed. After discussing things with a lawyer friend of my aunt, I realized not only did I have a strong case, I also had the right to pursue justice. The lawyer explained that I could sue Sabrina for defamation because her lies have cost me dearly. I had to finish school online, missing out on the experience of graduating with my peers, and I endured constant harassment, not to mention being physically attacked because of these rumors. I couldn't just ignore or let that go. When the lawyer first suggested suing, I hesitated. I didn't want to lose focus on my studies or jeopardize my goal of earning a degree. However, after further discussion, he explained that a successful lawsuit could result in a significant settlement from Sabrina's parents, enough to cover my education costs and relieve the burden of a part-time job. This could finally let me dedicate myself to college, which has been nearly impossible due to financial pressures. My aunt fully backed this idea, trusting her lawyer friend's expertise from similar cases. She assured me that a favorable outcome would be fair compensation for the damage done to my reputation and school life. So, after a lot of thought, I decided to move forward with the lawsuit. I know this decision might stir up more drama, but I'm used to that by now. What matters most is that justice is served and Sabrina and her parents face the consequences of their actions. It's been a long time since my last update, and now I can finally share how the defamation lawsuit against Sabrina turned out. We reached a verdict, and everything went exactly as my lawyer and I anticipated. Even though the journey was exhausting, having access to my parents' money allowed me to focus on both the lawsuit and my studies without the stress of working, a huge emotional relief. College is now going incredibly well, everything I once dreamed of and more. I'm experiencing opportunities that, just a few months ago, felt nearly impossible when all I wanted was to escape that nightmare. In the beginning, the legal battle was tough, not so much because of the case itself, but because of all the people urging me to let it go. One of the first to reach out was Caleb, my former best friend. We hadn't spoken since he cut me off over Sabrina's lies. He even ignored me when he learned that Sabrina's baby was Asian, a clear sign that her story was fabricated from the start. Now, with the lawsuit in progress, he suddenly remembered my number and called to say it wasn't fair for his sister, who was a teenage mother struggling alone, especially since the guy who got her pregnant was avoiding responsibility and was being sued for child support. I told him, however, that Sabrina earned this lawsuit. Her lies persisted even when she knew I wasn't the father, and as a friend, he never stood up for me. I reminded him of the beating I took because of his sister's rumors and how he did nothing. After that, Caleb understood my point and didn't call again. I consider that relationship irreparable. Then I got a call from Sabrina's parents, who I once saw as a second family. They had always accepted their daughter's lies without question and even accused me of taking advantage of her. Now, they pleaded with me to drop the lawsuit, arguing that they already had enough on their plate with the child support case. I told them I wasn't going to back down. I reminded them that they could have prevented all this when Sabrina first started spreading rumors at school. I even told them they'd failed as parents by letting their 16-year-old daughter get pregnant, a fact that must hurt, though I can't know for sure. After saying that, I hung up. I didn't see the point in continuing the conversation. The last unexpected contact came from Sabrina herself. She sent several messages begging me not to continue with the lawsuit. In her messages, she confessed that she was in love with me and claimed everything happened because I never paid attention to her. According to her, I was always focused on my studies or going out with other girls, which made her feel ignored. She said she regretted lying but desperately wanted me to see her the way she did. I honestly don't know what Sabrina was thinking, whether she believed her own lies could make me fall for her or if she was just out for revenge because I didn't return her feelings. Either way, she got a short-term payoff, but now she's facing the consequences of her actions. I didn't respond to her messages. Instead, I took screenshots for the record in court, and then I blocked her to keep the legal process straightforward. Finally, the trial is over, and we won the case. The settlement amount is more substantial than I expected, enough to cover the rest of my education without needing a part-time job. This means I can fully immerse myself in college, focusing on achieving top grades. I've even thought about transferring to a more prestigious university, something I always wanted but couldn't afford before. Honestly, I never imagined I'd get to this point. At first, suing Sabrina seemed extreme, but now that I see the outcome, I'm grateful I did. Not only will the money help me reach my educational goals, but I also feel that I finally received the justice I deserved. I was made to bear the brunt of lies and manipulation for too long, treated as the villain. Now that the truth is clear, I can finally move on without carrying that heavy burden. After the trial, things began to change. With the settlement in hand, I could finally focus on rebuilding my life. I started by reconnecting with people who truly cared about me, friends and family who had always believed in my potential. I even sought therapy to help heal the wounds left by years of manipulation and betrayal, learning that true strength comes from facing your pain and growing from it. At college, I embraced new opportunities. The financial relief allowed me to concentrate fully on my studies, and soon I found myself excelling academically. I started exploring passions I had long suppressed, and through these experiences, I discovered a deep well of resilience and creativity within me. Slowly, I built a network of supportive peers who became my new family, a community that celebrated honesty, hard work, and genuine connection. As I moved closer to transferring to a more prestigious university, I realized that the painful past had prepared me for this bright future. The hurtful events no longer defined me. Instead, they became lessons that propelled me forward. I learned that forgiveness isn't about forgetting the past, but about releasing the grip it has on your future. I forgave not to excuse the wrongs, but to free myself from the burden of anger and resentment. Now, as I step into a new chapter, I look back with a sense of calm acceptance. I've transformed betrayal into strength, isolation into community, and despair into hope. I understand that family can be found in unexpected places, and that true healing comes from self-love and determination. This is my resolution, to live a life defined by my own choices, grounded in truth and supported by those who respect me. The past may have been tumultuous, but it paved the way for a future where I am in control, a future filled with promise, passion, and the kind of peace I once thought was unattainable.